Chapter 6 Port Safety
Annie banged on the wooden door.
第6章港口安全。安妮呢用力咁樣敲打嗰個木門啊。
A moment later, it's opened. Gunnar, a man said, peering into the snowstorm.
過咗一陣，門開啦。古納爾，一個男人講到，佢正喺度透過暴風雨雪向外張望。
No, Annie shouted. The ice cracked and my brother fell through. His feet are soaking wet. Can you help us?
唔係啊，安妮大聲喊到，冰面裂開啦，我弟弟跌咗落去啊，佢嘅雙腳都濕透啦，你可唔可以幫下我哋啊？
Hurry! Get inside, the man said.
快啲啦，入去啊！個男人話。
With Annie's help, Jack limped into the warm, fire-lit cabin. He took off his mittens and wiped snow and ice from his glasses.
喺安妮嘅幫助底下，傑克呢一拐一拐咁樣走入嗰個溫暖而且燈火通明嘅小屋入邊。佢摘下手套，擦去眼鏡上嘅雪同冰。
Sit near the stove, the man commanded. I'll heat some water.
靠近火爐坐好啦，嗰個人命令道。我呢會去燒啲水啊。
Annie helped Jack out of his parka.
安妮呢將傑克從椅子上呢扶起嚟。
And he sat on a wooden chair near a crackling wood stove.
佢穿住一件皮傑克，佢坐喺呢靠近噼哩啪嘅燃燒嘅火爐嘅一張木椅上面。
Take off his boots, the man said.
將佢嘅靴子脱掉啊！嗰個男人話。
Annie helped Jack pull off his fur boots and wool socks, then set them near the stove. The man grabbed a kettle from the top of the wood stove and poured water into a bucket. 安妮
呢幫傑克脱下咗皮靴同埋羊毛襪，然後將佢哋放喺爐子旁邊。呢個男人從木爐頂部拎咗一個水壺，往一個桶裡面倒水喎。
Jack looked at his wet feet. They were white and lumped from the cold he couldn't move his toes. How are they? The man said, lugging the bucket to Jack. 傑克望住自己濕碌碌嘅雙腳，佢哋變得蒼白，而且呢因為寒冷而變得好麻木啊！佢嘅腳趾呢亦都凍彈不得啦。佢哋點啊？嗰個男人話，將水桶呢剛到傑克面前。Not bad, Jack said. He was still trembling from the cold.
都幾好啦，傑克講到，佢呢仍然係因為寒冷而渾身顫抖。
Not good, said the man, looking at Jack's feet. He set the bucket down in front of Jack, soaked them a while. Then,
唔得啊！嗰個男人望住傑克嘅雙腳講到，佢將水桶放喺傑克面前，將佢哋浸一浸啦。
Thanks, said Jack, as he put his feet into the warm water. He was overcome with pain. He started to pull them out, but the man stopped.
多謝啊，傑克講到，當佢呢將雙腳放入溫熱嘅水中時，佢係感到一陣劇痛嘅襲嚟啊！佢呢好想將雙腳抽出嚟，但係嗰個人呢，佢係阻止咗佢。
Him, keep them there, kid, he said. Okay, said Jack, gritting his teeth.
讓佢哋呢待喺嗰度啦，孩子，唔好拎隻腳出嚟啊！好啦，傑克講到，然之後呢緊咬住呢佢嘅牙關。
Listening to the howling wind and the snow pelting the cabin windows, he worried about the huskies.
聽住狂風呼嘯，聽住雪花拍打小屋窗戶嘅聲音，佢開始為嗰啲哈士奇犬們擔心起嚟啦。
Can we bring our dog team inside? He asked.
我哋可唔可以將狗隊帶入屋企啊？
Sure, I'll unhitch them from their harnesses. You stay here and soak your feet. The man said, then he threw on a parka and hurried outside to get the dogs.
當然啦，我會將佢哋喺馬具上面解落嚟，你喺呢度等下，泡住隻腳。嗰個人講到，然後佢穿咗一件羽絨服，匆匆跑去牽嗰啲狗狗啦。
I'll help him, Annie said to Jack. Don't move. And she followed the man back into the storm.
我會幫佢㗎。安妮對傑克講到：冇喐啊！然後呢，佢跟住嗰個人呢，走入咗暴風雨中。
As Jack sat alone in the one-room cabin and soaked his feet, he worried about the time. He looked around for a clock, but didn't see one. How long would it take for his boots to dry?
傑克呢，獨自喺嗰間只有一個房間嘅小屋裏面，泡住雙腳。佢開始擔心起時間。佢四處尋找時鐘，但係都見唔到。佢嘅靴子究竟要幾耐先可以乾呢？佢心裏面諗。
Wondered, would his feet be okay? Did the dogs have frostbite too?
佢嘅雙腳會唔會有問題呢？嗰啲狗會唔會都凍傷呢？
Jack was glad when the door opened. Everyone in! Annie shouted, hauling the sack of dried fish with her. She led the huskies inside.
門開啦！傑克感到十分高興啊！都進來吧！安妮大聲喊道。佢提住一袋乾魚，領住嗰啲哈士奇走入咗屋裏面。
Man followed the team into the cabin and slammed the door against the storm.
佢呢，嗰個男人跟住隊伍走咗入進小屋入邊，用力關上咗門，以抵禦呢狂風嘅侵襲。
Go! Sit! He ordered the dogs. He pointed to dry straw spread over the door. The bedraggled huskies took slow steps across the room and settled down in the straw. Feel any better?
佢呢對兩隻狗狗話：坐低啦！佢指咗指呢鋪喺地上面嘅乾草，嗰兩隻狼狽不堪嘅哈士奇呢緩緩咁樣穿過房間，而家呢喺乾草上面坐咗落嚟。
The man asked Jack.
你感覺好啲未啊？嗰個男人問傑克。
Yes, said Jack. His teeth had stopped chattering, and the pain in his feet had lessened. I'm Jack. She's my sister Annie. 係
啊，傑克講到佢嘅牙齒呢唔再咁樣打戰啊，腳上嘅疼痛呢亦都減少咗。我係傑克啊，佢係我嘅妹妹安妮。
I know she told me, said the man. I'm Ed. He grabbed the kettle and poured a little more steamy water into the bucket.
我知道啊，佢同我講過。嗰個男人講到：我叫艾德。佢拎起水壺，又往肚裏面倒一啲熱氣騰騰嘅水。
Ed mushers too, said Annie. His team is in a shed behind the cabin. He's a mailman, like Oki's uncle. He recognized their dogs. 艾德都係個訓犬員，安妮講到。佢嘅訓犬隊就停喺小屋裏後面嘅棚屋裏面。佢仲係一名郵遞員，就好似呢奧基嘅叔叔咁樣。佢認得嗰啲狗啊。Cool, said Jack. Yep, said Ed. Keep soaking your feet, while your sister and I take care of the dogs. 太好啦，傑克講到。冇錯啊，艾德講到，你先將腳泡一會，我同埋你嘅姊妹去照顧嗰啲狗啦。Jack kept his feet in the bucket as Ed poured drinking water into a large pot and gave it to the team. 傑克呢雙腳踩喺桶裏面，而艾德呢將飲用嘅水倒喺一個大鍋中，並將佢呢分咗俾呢其他團隊嘅成員喎。Then Ed and Annie knelt in the straw and massaged the dog's feet, one paw at a time. The huskies panted and looked as if they were smiling. 隨後呢，艾德同埋安妮跪咗喺稻草上面，依次為狗狗們按摩腳部。呢啲哈士奇呢喘着粗氣，睇起嚟呢好似喺度微笑咁啊。Good dogs, Annie, they kept saying. That's right, good dogs, Ed chimed in. Jack saw that the musher was missing teeth and his beard was scraggly. 傑克呢見到呢位純犬員嘅牙齒脫落啊，胡鬚呢亦都長得亂糟糟嘅。Even so, his face has dignity and strength, Jack thought. 但即使係咁，佢嘅面容呢依然係透住莊重同埋堅毅啊。傑克心諗。Now the he understood the job of a professional musher. He admired Ed a lot. 而家佢明白咗職業訓犬員嘅工作內容，對艾德呢更加係敬佩有加。Ed lives lives here, at the Port Safety Roadhouse. Annie said, That's a good name for it, huh?
艾德就係住喺呢度，就係港口安全旅館嗰度。安妮講到呢個名字幾貼切啊，係咪啊？
Jack nodded, as the wind howled outside. It did feel safe inside the cabin, but he worried that they couldn't stay. They had only 12 hours of magic.
傑克點咗點頭啦，外面狂風呼嘯，而屋內呢，佢係感到十分安全啊。但係佢擔心佢哋冇辦法再繼續待下去啦，因為佢哋只有12個小時嘅魔法時間。
Do you know what time it is? He said. Hold on. Ed put out a pocket watch. Almost midnight, he said. So almost 8½ hours left to find Gunnar Kassin and return.
你知道而家係幾點啊？佢問道。等等啊！艾德拎出一隻懷錶，快到午夜啦。佢講到，所以呢，總共8小時半嘅時間。傑克心諗。
Turn to Nome, thought Jack. Suddenly, he remembered something. Ed, why did you call us Gunnar? When
佢心諗，咁我哋呢就要揾到古爾納卡森，然後呢再翻返去落姆。突然佢問，諗起咗啲乜嘢？艾德，你開門嘅時候點解叫我哋做格納爾呢？
When you opened the door, did you mean Gunnar Kassin? Asked Annie. Were you expecting him?
你係咪指古納爾卡森啊？安妮問道。你係咪喺度等佢啊？
I didn't mean Gunnar Kassin, said Ed. Earlier today, I was told to wait for him if he gets tired on his journey. I'm supposed to take his package on to Nome, but then I got word from Solomon that Gunnar...
我確實係講古納爾卡森。艾德講到，今日早些時候有人話俾我聽，要等佢過嚟。如果佢喺途中感到疲倦，我應該將佢嘅包裹送去落姆。但係後來
would be staying there a while. When I heard a knock, I thought he decided to push on.
但後來我呢喺呢個索洛蒙傳嚟消息話，古納爾呢會留喺嗰度一段時間。當我聽到有人敲門，我仲以為呢佢都係改變主意，決定前行啦。
No, said Annie. The mayor of Nome told him to wait until the storm ends. At least that's what someone told us.
唔係啊，安妮講到落姆市嘅市長讓佢等到暴風雨結束先再行動，至少有人係咁同我哋講啦。
Good thing, said Ed. Only a crazy fool will drive in a storm like this.
咁都係一件好事，艾德講到，只有十足嘅瘋子先會喺呢種暴風雨中開車啊。
So why the heck were you two out there?
咁你哋兩個到底啊係要去邊度呢？
Well, we just went out for a short ride to, said Annie.
我哋只係出去兜咗個小小嘅圈啫。安妮講到。
To exercise Oki's uncle dogs.
係啊，我哋呢係要去訓練奧基嘅嗰啲狗啊。傑克講到，因為呢而家奧基叔叔正喺度住院啊嘛。
Well, Oki's at the hospital, right? Said Annie. And then we got lost.
冇錯啊，安妮講到，然後我哋就迷路啦。
You're lucky you found this place before you froze to death, said Ed. How are your feet? Ed asked him. Jack put his feet out of the water. His skin was pink, and the terrible pain was gone. He wiggled his toes. I think they're going to be okay.
冇錯啊，安妮講到，然後我哋就迷路啦。你真係好幸運啊！喺凍死之前呢，你揾到呢個地方。艾德講到，係啊，真係太幸運啦。傑克話：你隻腳點樣啊？艾德問佢。傑克呢將雙腳喺水裡面抽出嚟，佢嘅皮膚呈現咗粉紅色，嗰種劇烈嘅疼痛都消失啦。佢呢輕輕咁樣呢扭動住身體，同埋佢腳趾。
He said, Good news, said Ed. He grabbed a towel and a pair of socks from an old canvas bag and tossed them to Jack. These socks will be too big, but better big socks than wet ones.
我覺得呢，佢哋應該唔會有事嘅。佢講到好消息嚟嘅。艾德講到，佢從一個呢舊帆布袋裏面拎出一條毛巾同埋一箱襪子，然後將佢哋掉俾傑克。 呢箱襪子有啲大，但總係比濕抹紙好啦。
Thanks, said Jack, drying his feet, then pulling on the warm, woolly socks.
多謝啊，傑克講到，擦乾咗雙腳，然後穿上咗嗰雙温暖嘅羊毛襪。
You just dodged to a case of frostbite, Mister, said Ed. I bet you kids will think twice before taking a joyride in a blizzard again.
你剛剛先躲過咗一場凍傷之災啦，伙計。朋友啊，艾德講到，我敢肯定啊，你哋呢啲孩子，下次喺暴風雪中開車時都會三思而行啦。
Well, actually, I think we should be heading home soon, said Jack. But don't worry, it's not far.
實際上咧，我覺得咧，我哋好快就要返屋企啦。傑克講到，不過唔好擔心啊，距離唔遠㗎。
What? Are you two crazy? In this weather? Said Ed.
嚇！你兩個咪瘋咗啊？喺呢一種天氣度，艾德講到。
Well, we're, champion mushers, Annie said in a small voice.
我哋算係純雪橇比賽嘅冠軍選手啦。安妮細聲講到。
Oh yeah? Ed squinted at her. What races have you won? Well,
係咩？艾德咪起眼睛睇住佢。你贏過啲咩比賽啊？
they weren't in Alaska, Annie said. We won the Frog Creek Winter.
阿拉斯加比賽咯，我哋贏咗呢個佛洛里克冬季接力賽啊。
And never heard of it, said Ed. Doesn't
我從來都冇聽過啊。不過唔緊要啦。
matter. I don't care who you are. You're not going back out in that storm.
我都唔在乎你係邊個，不過你絕對唔能夠咧喺嗰個暴風雨中再出去啦。
Your team needs to rest, if nothing else.
你嘅團隊要休息啊！呢一點咧都不假㗎。
And eat, right, fellas? Annie banged
同
on
埋
the.
咧，佢哋都要食嘢喎，係咪啊？伙計們。
Ed grabbed the burlap sack and pulled out flat pieces of dried pink fish. The huskies wiggled and whined as Ed started feeding them.
艾德咧拎起個麻袋，從中咧取咗一塊塊乾燥嘅粉紅色魚乾。哈士奇們咧扭動住身體，嗚嗚咁樣叫住。呢個時候，艾德開始俾佢哋餵食。
Annie looked at Jack. Maybe we can stay a little bit longer, she said under her breath.
安妮望住傑克話：或者我哋可以咧再等多一陣啦。佢細聲講到。
Jack nodded. Okay, but we have to keep our eye on the time. We will, said Annie. The dogs gobbled up every piece of fish and drank. 安妮咧講：或者我哋可以再等多陣啦。傑克點頭話：好啊，但我哋咧要注意時間喎。我哋會㗎。安妮講到，嗰啲狗咧狼吞虎咽咁樣食晒所有魚啊。From bowls of water. Then the huskies sat down, put back their heads, and began to howl. The wind howled outside as all 8 dogs howled inside. 嗰啲狗咧狼吞虎咽食晒咗所有魚啦，仲從個水裏面咧飲水。然後咧呢啲哈士奇咧坐咗起嚟，低下頭開始咧嚎叫起嚟。外面嘅風呼嘯着，而屋裏面嘅8隻狗亦都一齊哮叫起嚟。Jack knew the howling meant the dogs were satisfied. He, Annie, and Ed laughed until the howling stopped as abruptly as it had begun. 傑克咧明白到呢啲吠聲意味住狗狗已經滿足啦，佢安妮同埋艾德都笑咗起嚟啦，直到嗰啲狂犬聲突然之間停止喎，就好似佢開始咁突然咁樣停止。The dogs then began nodding. 隨後嗰啲狗咧開始打起咗蓋睡啦。Happily off to sleep, one by one. 佢哋好愉快咁樣咧一個個瞓啦，有啲咧。Some lay on their sides, while others curled up in tight balls and covered their noses with their bushy tails. 有啲咧側住身躺啦，有啲咧捲縮成一團，仲有啲咧用濃密嘅尾巴咧捂住自己嘅鼻子。All right, now let's get you some food and drink, said Ed. Can you please tell us what time it is again? Asked Jack. Ed glanced at his watch. 1:15, he said,
好啦，而家到我整啲嘢俾你哋食啦。艾德講到：你可唔可以再話俾我哋聽而家幾點啊？艾德望咗望手錶，1:15啊。佢講到
Jack didn't know what to do. He was hungry, but now they only had 7 hours left to find Gunnar and get back to Nome.
傑克唔知道應該點做好啊！佢感覺到好肚餓，但係呢個時候佢得返7個小時嘅時間去揾古納爾並返去落姆啦。
Till make some soup, said Ed. He seemed determined to keep them from going back out into the blizzard. He grabbed a can of tomato soup from a shelf and began opening it with a can opener.
我去煮啲湯啦，艾德講到，佢顯然呢決心唔讓佢哋再去面對暴風雪啦。佢喺架子上面呢拎起一罐番茄湯，然後呢用開罐器開始打開佢哋。
What about our mission? Jack wondered. How could he make Ed understand that Tate had to Ave? You can wash your hands over there, Ed interrupted. He pointed toward a tin basin on a washstand.
我哋嘅任務怎麼辦啊？傑克心裏面琢磨住，佢應該如何讓到艾德明白佢哋必須離開呢？唔好意思啊，佢講到恐怕你去嗰邊洗手啊！艾德打斷佢，佢指向梳妝台上一個鐵製嘅水盤。
It's okay, Annie whispered to Jack. We have time. She put her red-chapped hands into the cool water and washed them with soap. Jack reluctantly did the same.
冇關係㗎，安妮小聲對傑克講：我哋仲有時間啊！佢將佢嗰兩雙乾裂發紅嘅手呢伸進涼水中，用肥皂搓起手嚟。傑克亦都唔好意思咁樣跟住做咗同樣嘅動作。
Ed nodded toward the table. Sit, he said, as if giving command to 2 huskies.
艾德呢朝住桌子嘅方向點咗點頭講：坐低啊！佢講到，彷彿呢就係向2隻哈士奇下達命令一般。
Lack and Annie smiled. They dried their hands and sat on 2 wooden barrels at the table. Ed dropped a box of soda crackers between them and gave them each a glass of milk. While the blizzard raged outside, he filled 2 bowls with steamy soup from a pot on the stove and put them in front of Jack and Annie. Then he sat in an old armchair near the table. Thanks. 安妮同埋傑克笑啦，佢哋呢擦乾咗雙手，坐喺桌子旁嘅2個木桶上面。艾德爾將佢哋之間呢放一盒梳打餅乾，並俾佢哋每人倒一杯牛奶。外面暴風雪肆虐之際，佢從爐子上嘅鍋裏面掏出熱騰騰嘅湯，盛到2個碗裏面，放喺傑克同埋安妮面前。然後佢坐喺桌子旁嘅一個舊扶手椅上。Ed, said Annie. Yeah, thanks, said Jack, sighing. Breathing in the delicious smell of the tomato soup, his worries momentarily faded. Ed grabbed the bird. 多謝艾德，安妮講到。係啊，多謝啊，傑克嘆咗氣，講到佢深吸咗一口番茄湯嗰誘人嘅香氣，心中嘅憂慮呢頓時煙消雲散啦。第6章講到呢度，我哋第7章再見啦，拜拜。